ready to say farewell to San Diego, we're embracing the last moments of this record-breaking ASH annual meeting and exposition, starting with a preview from ASH Secretary Dr. Cynthia Dunbar on the exciting and novel research being presented in the late-breaking abstract session today.
3 of the late-breaking abstracts this year are going to present advances in the drug treatment of hematologic malignancies. Abstract 1 reports results from the multiple myeloma Phase 3 Perseus trial, asking the question of whether adding a 4th drug, in this case the anti-CD38 monoclonal antibody daratumumab, to standard triple therapy with lenalidomide, bortezomib, and dexamethasone actually improves results when they're used during induction and consolidation. Now, I'm not going to give you the punchline here, but I will tell you that, at least in myeloma, this year at the annual meeting, more seems to almost always be better. The second abstract I'll discuss is from the Phase 3 Simpatico trial in mantle cell lymphoma, asking whether the addition of venetoclax to ibrutinib and comparing it to ibrutinib alone improves outcomes in patients with relapsed and refractory disease. And go and hear what that looks like, but it does show benefit. The third abstract, looking at drug treatment of hematologic malignancies, focuses on a new drug for the very high-risk subtype of AML, containing a KMT2A rearrangement. And this fusion protein and its interaction with menin has been shown to be a potent driver for this type of poor-risk leukemia. The small molecule revumenib was designed to inhibit the interaction of menin with the fusion protein. Investigators will report out top-line efficacy and safety data using this new drug in refractory leukemia and meeting primary endpoints for complete and overall responses. The late-breaking abstract session has 3 classical hematology abstracts I want to introduce. One of the most interesting to me personally is number 3, which reports the results from a placebo-controlled trial of pomalidomide in hereditary hemorrhagic telangiectasia. This inherited disorder is the second most common bleeding disorder worldwide, but it's likely often underdiagnosed, and it can have serious morbidity and profound impact on quality of life due to recurrent bleeding episodes from arteriovenous malformations throughout the body. There are no standard or approved drug therapies for this disorder. The investigators report positive results in terms of bleeding scores and specific quality of life parameters. Abstract 4 reports very encouraging Phase 2 results from Clinical Trials Network looking at haploidentical transplantation in patients with severe sickle cell disease. Using an optimized conditioning regimen and post-transplant cyclophosphamide, these U.S. investigators will report very encouraging outcomes in terms of engraftment, survival, and graft versus host disease. Finally, Abstract 6 will report on the discovery of a new inherited marrow failure in cancer predisposition syndrome, involving mutations in the gene encoding ERG, a transcription factor, adding another consideration to the workup of patients with marrow failure and/or familial atypical MDS or AML. So I personally am looking forward to Tuesday morning. We hope to see you there.
Joining me now is incoming ASH President, Dr. Mohandas Narla. Dr. Narla, what are you most looking forward to with your upcoming presidency?
I'm looking forward to continuing the tradition of ASH, of global communities, and bringing people from other parts of the world who are making very good, incredible contributions to hematology. And I hope to pursue this further because ASH is really deeply committed to helping all hematologists around the globe. And we are well on our way to do that. And I think my hope during my presidency, because I'm originally from India and I really feel like all the wonderful information we have developed in this country should be translatable to countries who have not the same resources as we have here.
Yes, and you bring up the global element of ASH. This is a global community, and there's a new global journal coming out. What can you tell us about that?
Right. We're starting a new journal next year called Global Hematology. The reason for that is there's so much good science going on in the rest of the world, especially so-called developing countries, and they don't feel part of our published journals at the present time, and because they don't feel that they're up to the standards of the rest of the developed countries. So ASH Executive Committee made a very conscious decision to get the data of hematological studies from other parts of the world to be published in an ASH-sponsored journal. And I'm very excited about it.
Something else that I wanted to talk to you about was being part of the PhD community. That's a huge element of this community amongst hematologists. What does that mean to you to be able to represent them in a big way as the incoming president?
Basically, I'm a PhD in biomedical engineering. That's my background. But I've been attending every ASH meeting since 1970. And to me, I'm only the third PhD to become the leader of the society as president. And it means a lot to me personally. We are really committed. Always we had a lot of PhD members as part of the society, but then there was some concern that we are drifting too much away from the emphasis on PhD in the society. And so this is to me very personal, and we are very fortunate that we are developing new programs. For example, this is the first year we elected a PhD as a counselor of the society, and designated for that PhDs for out of the 8 counselors we have, at least one of them will always be a PhD only doing research, basic science research.
It is very exciting to see the advancement of what we're doing for the PhD community amongst the hematologists. So thank you, Dr. Narla. Good luck with your leadership and your presidency, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time, and I'm really looking forward to working with you in the future. Yes.
Stay tuned for more right here on ASH News TV.
The Novartis-sponsored Ask to Escalate study is currently enrolling in the United States. Ask to Escalate is a phase 2 dose escalation trial of asciminib monotherapy for second and first line CML chronic phase. All patients will start treatment with asciminib 80 mg daily and can dose escalate if not meeting response milestones. The primary endpoint is major molecular response at 12 months in second line patients. Visit the Novartis booth 2429 for more information.
Each year at the annual meeting, ASH presents groundbreaking research in hematology that garners nationwide press coverage. ASH News TV spoke with Dr. Mikhail Sekaris, the chair of the Committee on Communications, about the significance of the press program and how these abstracts are selected.
A lot of people know that the American Society of Hematology annual meeting is the biggest hematology meeting in the world. We have over 30,000 people attending. What a lot of people don't realize is we also have over 400 reporters attending, because hematology science is also some of the biggest news in the world. On the Committee on Communications, we sit down with ASH staff and we go through the over 7,000 abstracts that have been submitted to the meeting and select those that we really think will resonate with reporters.
We also spoke with Dr. Sarah O'Brien, moderator of Saturday's press briefing on pediatrics, about some of the newsworthy abstracts that were presented.
I'm really excited about all 4 of them. What I think is interesting is that 2 of these studies focus on very simple, easily accessible interventions, whereas 2 focus on high-tech, brand new therapies, showing the importance of all different types of therapies.
In a series of quality improvement related sessions at the annual meeting, clinicians were recognized for their work to tackle the overuse of tests and implement evidence-based guidelines. The 2023 ASH Choosing Wisely Champions recognized clinicians who have been working to eliminate costly and potentially harmful overuse of tests and procedures. And the ASH Guideline Implementation Champions showcased hematologists who have implemented evidence-based guidelines in clinical settings.
These projects have mainly been to eliminate costly care and also to hopefully avoid potentially harmful tests. And you can notice that the initiatives that they took can be translated to your own clinical practice as well.
There's no topic off the table at the annual meeting, particularly hot topics in blood donation like donor risks and social justice. Sunday's session reviewed evolving policies for blood donors as well as 2 potential hematologic consequences of frequent donation amongst other factors that affect the safety of the blood supply.
The social justice part really related to some profound changes that have happened in how we handle men who have sex with men, or MSM, in terms of blood donation. Over the years, our understanding of the transmission of HIV and of the risks to the blood supply and our ability to screen blood have evolved. We're able to sort people who are at relatively lower risk for HIV from those who are at higher risk and basically let more people donate. It's good for the blood supply and it's more fair to a group that's been historically marginalized.
It was an inspiring start to the day for many hematologists at the Wake Up to DEI networking breakfast.
The big thing that we wanted to do as ASH is to celebrate 20 years of the Minority Recruitment Initiative. And so the best way to do that is over food and over good conversation, right? And so we all woke up early in the morning for this breakfast to really celebrate some of the DEI efforts that ASH has been doing over the last 20 years. The really most important thing that people should understand is that diversity is so important. And that really doesn't just mean the color of people's skin. We all have different backgrounds, different things that we all bring to the table. And as long as we're able to do that together and still kind of make things great, that's really what makes ASH kind of a step above all the other organizations.
Tipsovo, ivosidenib tablets, is a once-daily oral therapy for the treatment of adult patients with acute myeloid leukemia, or AML, who have a susceptible IDH1 mutation. Patients treated with Tipsovo have experienced symptoms of differentiation syndrome, which can be fatal. QTc interval prolongation and Guillain-Barré syndrome can also develop in patients treated with Tipsovo. Please review all important safety information below and see full prescribing information, including boxed warning for AML patients at tipsovopro.com/AML. For newly diagnosed patients with AML who are ineligible for induction chemotherapy, Tipsovo delivers a laser-focused solution. Tipsovo plus azacitidine delivers 24 months median overall survival versus 7.9 months with azacitidine alone. That's a 3-fold improvement over azacitidine alone and a 56% reduction in the risk of death. Tipsovo, laser focused on survival.
The E. Donald Thomas Lecture and Prize was created in 1992 to recognize research achievements in hematology. This year's honoree is Dr. Katie Rizvani, a physician scientist and renowned transplant expert. Dr. Rizvani shared her research on natural killer cells, a new frontier for cancer immunotherapy.
The takeaways will be to make the audience more familiar with the field of natural killer cells, how natural killer cells have the potential of impacting not only hematologic malignancies but potentially also solid tumors, and really the advances that we're seeing in the fields of cell engineering, synthetic biology, with the potential of big data, artificial intelligence. We live in really exciting times.
I'm joined now with Dr. Aaron Gerds, who's the editor-in-chief of ASH Clinical News. Dr. Gerds, I know that ASH Clinical News has been very busy providing its own coverage of the ASH annual meeting. Where can people find that coverage?
Well, we've been very busy here out in the streets of ASH, the ASH annual meeting, picking up all that coverage for all of our readers. All of our coverage will be on our website at ASH Clinical News under the kind of ASH Publications umbrella.
As far as the January issue goes, how do you determine which presentations from the annual meeting are included or featured in the January issue of ASH Clinical News?
Well, that just gets harder and harder every year. There were almost 8,000 abstracts submitted to the annual meeting this year. We have a crack team of associate editors that scour all the abstracts upon submission, picking out their favorites. So I have to give a lot of credit to our editorial team, picking out these abstracts, and then we kind of go through them and say, we want to bring to our readership a mix and a balance, right? Both classical hematology and malignant hematology. stuff that's more retrospective, stuff that's practice-changing prospective trials, and maybe even some obscure and rare diseases as well. So we try to come up with a very balanced presentation covering the breadth of hematology. We do have video coverage. We can see the backdrop here of where we're taping our on-site coverage for our YouTube channel as well as to distribute in our emails. We also have a Twitter handle that's been very active, tweeting out highlights of the meeting as it's ongoing. And that combines and synergizes actually with our print and online coverage.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Gerds, and be sure to pick up your issue of ASH Clinical News to read on your plane ride home.
Artificial intelligence is a hot topic in just about every field, and hematology is no different. So what are some of the challenges and opportunities with AI in hematology? This session was framed around how to apply AI in medicine.
We had 3 great talks from Dr. Tong from the FDA. He gave us an idea how AI could be used instead of animal models to find new drugs and also address side effects that we normally see with any new drugs. The second talk deals with ethics from Dr. Coley, and she did a great job explaining to us how important it is to also look from the ethical point of view in any new application in medicine, including AI. And I was the speaker for the third talk, and I explained how far we are already or where we will go in the next months and years to implement AI in our hematological clinic, from the diagnosis to treatment plans to patients follow-up. So this is a complete scenario of where AI is today and will be quite soon, hopefully in our routine use as well.
ASH attendees got the inside scoop on the FDA's approval process in 2 ASH FDA joint symposia. The first session focused on targeted gene and cellular therapy and addressed recent approvals in classical hematology.
One of the biggest issues that came up at this session was the cost of gene therapy. But again, like Dr. Verdun said, we need to get the input from many different stakeholders so that we can make this therapy accessible to all of our patients.
A very recent approval in terms of Friday, 2 gene therapies for sickle cell disease, and specifically one with CRISPR-Cas9 technology, which is the first therapy using this gene editing tool. And so it's just been an exciting time.
The second session focused on malignant hematology.
We really want people to get an idea of the risk mitigation strategies we're using at the FDA, including use of the U.S. prescribing information, more commonly known as the label, and also the use of risk evaluation and mitigation strategies, or REMS programs, for agents that have a potential for benefit but with a significant risk profile.
As we continue the conversation around the FDA's approval of the first gene therapies to treat patients with sickle cell disease was announced on Friday, just as the annual meeting was kicking off. We spoke with hematologists about their reactions to this announcement and, most importantly, how we'll continue to move the needle in conquering sickle cell disease.
Well, I think the most important thing about gene therapy is that everybody is followed by a sickle cell disease center. Many individuals are followed in the community, and there are a lot of transplant centers interested in doing gene therapy for sickle cell disease. I love my transplant colleagues, but they need to make sure they're working hand in hand with a sickle cell disease specialist. People with sickle cell are not the same as people with myeloma, who they've been doing autologous transplants for a long time. So following these individuals in sickle cell disease centers is incredibly important. And then making sure they get those patients back for ongoing long-term follow-up is going to be key.
The Ernest Beutler Lecture and Prize recognizes major translational advances. We spoke with this year's honorees about their respective work that earned each of them this prestigious recognition.
I'm very glad to receive this prestigious award. Actually, it's very amazing for me. Now, I'm standing here. It's really amazing. I'm very happy and I'm proud of receiving this award on behalf of my excellent colleagues.
The content of my lecture is translational medicine. It's taking the development of the factor VIII mimetic and putting them into clinical context. I'll first describe the unmet needs of patients with hemophilia, and then I'll go on to summarize the data that has accumulated to date in terms of pharmacokinetic safety and efficacy, and very briefly I will speculate on what the impact of this is going to be in the future in the community.
ASH is at the forefront of addressing a critical health equity concern through its practice-changing initiative, the reconsideration of absolute neutrophil count reference ranges by Duffy status as shared during Monday's Spotlight session.
There is an initiative by the American Society of Hematology that's being sponsored by Doris Duke Foundation to involve institutions, physicians, and individuals who have Duffy null-associated neutrophil count in better understanding this the condition, which is not an abnormality, and also in changing or improving our reference ranges so that we do not pathologize individuals who do not have a condition that makes them sick.
The Scientific Committee on Hemostasis is focused on the blood clotting system's role in hemostasis and also in inflammation and cancer biology. Topics of importance to all hematologists that were addressed during Monday's session on basic science in hemostasis and thrombosis.
All of these three sessions work in the field of the hemostasis and thrombosis. It always does a question how we can interfere with the process of the thrombosis without impacting the hemostatic response. The main idea is to block thrombosis without increasing bleeding risk.
It's been an incredible week of learning and connecting with 32,000 hematologists from around the world. Although things are coming to a close here in San Diego, it's never too late to start planning for next year.
Join us right back here in beautiful San Diego, December 7th through the 10th for the 66th ASH Annual Meeting and Exposition.
It's been a pleasure bringing you highlights, and we look forward to doing so again next year.